What's up guys, I got the Deathadder V3 Pro here. This is one of Razer's new flagship gaming mice, along with the Viper Ultimate V2, and today I'll be talking about this as a replacement for the G Pro X Superlight, and why I think that a lot of you shouldn't buy this mouse. So far I've been using this mouse for over a month daily, and I haven't even really picked up my Superlight except for a few times just to compare them. And then today I was playing a lot with my Superlight because I wanted to really see the difference really before I talked about this mouse. So yeah, I'm gonna assume that most of the people watching this video already know the specs of both of these mice. So if you need that information, I'm just gonna put it in the description. I'm not gonna talk about it in the video. So when it comes to the Deathadder V3 Pro as a replacement for the G Pro X Superlight, I think that it is a better mouse, technically, and in daily use. It is just a better mouse, but there's a few minor things that I'd like to talk about that make it so maybe you guys shouldn't get this mouse specifically, and maybe you would get the Deathadder or the Viper Ultimate V2 instead, because it has the same tech, but a different shape. I think the Deathadder V3 Pro is a better mouse than the G Pro X Superlight, but the problem with it is that the coating is not super good. I do get a little bit sweaty and it does get a little slippery, which is really minor, honestly. You can still get a good grip on this mouse, but the G Pro's is just, the coating is just better. It's like rubberized and this is more of a plastic feel, you know? The only other thing that I would say is worse about the Deathadder is just the shape itself. The G Pro's shape is really rounded out and kind of very, what would you call it? Safe. A lot of people call it safe, right? So that just means that it would fit in a lot of people's hands, and it does fit my hand. It's just a little bit small for me. The Deathadder, it's got a weird ergo shape. It's got like an Zowie clone type shape, like a Model D type shape. And that doesn't work for everyone. I don't even really like this ergo shape that much, but my hands are so big that I kind of have to use this mouse over the G Pro, just because if I'm playing for a couple hours a day with the G Pro, my hand actually start to hurt. With this, the Deathadder though, no, it doesn't hurt at all. I use this mouse all the time. I've used it for like 5-6 hours at a time, if you guys can relate to those binge gaming sessions. And I don't really get uncomfortable with this mouse. So that's my main two differences on the mice. I don't have the 4K polling dongle for this mouse either, so they feel nearly identical in game. Like the sensor and the smoothness and all that, it feels nearly identical. This has a slightly better feel, but I don't know what that has to do with. It could just be placebo, it could just be the shape, but other than that, I think they're extremely comparable. And the reason I don't think you should go out and buy this mouse is because the G Pro, if you don't have like palm basketball size hands like me, this mouse is still probably one of the best mice you can buy. And it's definitely more firm, like sturdy, but I can definitely feel these parts of the mouse right here. This part especially, I can feel this separating a little bit. And I know some other people have had this issue. Yeah, keep that in mind. If you're gonna buy this mouse, this feels lighter. It's not lighter. I don't think, it might be 1 or 2 grams lighter, but it feels significantly lighter than the G Pro. I think it's just because this is a smaller mouse and it's like way more dense. But this mouse feels lighter in hand. I barely feel this thing at all. The only other thing that I can really even talk about that is different about these mice is the clicks and the scroll wheel. So the clicks on the Deathadder, they're optical. So if you're trying to double click or any of that, you're not going to be able to do that. Trust me, I've tried, and I've made the G Pro double click. I can still click 20 CPS on here because I know how to use this mouse in a way that forces it to double click. But this one, it's impossible. It will not double click. The clicks are louder than the G Pro, much louder. So in the mornings, typically I'll pick up this mouse instead because my bed is close here and my girlfriend's still asleep a lot while I'm playing games in the morning. And this one is just so significantly lighter and quieter. Like the switches in here are just quieter and much lighter. Like much quieter, right? The side buttons, they feel fine. They feel good. They're solid, man. They're easily just as solid as the G Pros. They're a little more awkward to press because they're just fat, if that makes sense. These guys are nice and like right above your thumb. So if you ever need to press them, they're basically just right above your thumb. You could just rock up and do that, right? And on this one, it's the same thing, but they're just so chunky. I don't really like them. I don't use side buttons, so it shouldn't really bother me much, but it does a little bit. The scroll wheel, the only other thing, feels fine, feels great. The G Pros is way louder, but I think that's just because mine is really worn out. The only thing I can really even think of to talk about other than that is the skates, and all I can say about them is that they're easily as good as the stock skates for the superlight. These are aftermarket skates. These are the stock ones for the Deathadder, and honestly, I think these are probably some of the best stock skates I've ever used. So yeah, other than that, there's not much else I can say, but I will say, if you have a superlight, please don't buy a Deathadder unless you just want to waste your money, because like this mouse is so good that I can barely feel the difference with the Deathadder. Now, I don't have the 4K dongle because it's really hard to come by, but maybe that would change my mind. But really, I think you could just stick with the superlight. Unless you have huge hands, there's no real reason to get a new mouse, because the superlight is just, it's just so good. Like, it's just so good. Now, with that said, I'm going to continue to use the Deathadder every day because it's just a better shape for me. Eventually, I'm hoping that the superlight comes out with like a second, or that Logitech comes out with like a second version of the superlight that's maybe a bit bigger. Maybe they come out with like a G703 wireless superlight thing, right? I've never tried the 703, but I would try it if it was this light and, you know, competitive in this space, right? So yeah, I mean, other than that, I think that's all I got to say on the mouse. So if you enjoyed the video and you watched this far, please consider subscribing, like the video, and I'll see you in the next one.